Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ben Bax. I'm Head of Customer Service for Gurney. I agreed to chair this customer information session this afternoon. Hopefully it will be slightly broader than just customer information. I'm going to be talking in a minute about providing excellent customer service in the water industry and what a challenge that is and some of the reasons why that's difficult. And Tony McCarty from Business Stream will also be talking about how things have been progressed north of the border in Scotland by building in some competition as well. So I guess the fact that at least some of you have stayed till 3:30 on the best day of the year to sit in the cowshed has reinstilled some of my faith in humanity. And as a guitar-wielding teenager, I did always dream of doing a gig at the NEC, but it probably wasn't quite this one, to be fair, but we'll get on with it all the same. So I've got about 15 years experience in the water industry, working directly for water companies or authorities as they were, doing some consultancy work, and now providing service contracting as May Gurney do. So to get the obligatory corporate bit out of the way first in terms of what May Gurney does, I'm not going to go through this in any detail, but you can see the breadth of business that we have. And one of our strengths is that we can take great customer service from other industries, rail, highways authorities, bring that into the water industry. All of that stuff there adds up to us for about £600 million a year. It's actually much more important to us that we see that not as 600 million quid's worth of work a year, but actually providing essential services to 18 million people every single day of the year. That sounds a little bit trite, but it's actually a really, really important point for us. Culturally, that's how we view our work. Every single hole that we dig has got a customer at the end of it. We adopt through the work that we do responsibility from our customers for representing our clients in the public view, so it's a hugely important part of what we do. So we'll look at the challenge of providing customer service primarily, and then just a little bit about some of the things that I've experienced in trying to develop customer service in the utility sector. So in terms of the challenge, I'm assuming that given the audience that we have here, that everybody is aware of Ofwat and the service incentive mechanism. Let's just have a show of hands. Is everybody familiar with that information in terms of that customer measure? Yeah? Is that everybody? Okay. So what we say in our business is that, or what I say is that me knowing that stuff is absolutely useless. It adds no value to our business or our client's business whatsoever. The trick is to get every single person that works on all of our water contracts to know that stuff so that they can understand how they impact on that positively and indeed negatively. So that's been a really important part of the work that we've done culturally. The challenge whenever I talk about this stuff is really what can all of you lot do to help achieve SIM. We've got a really, really broad audience here today from people that work in this hall that work directly for water companies, work for service providers like May Gurney and others, or we've got pump manufacturers, coupling manufacturers. There should be a return on investment model that helps you get stuff delivered in water companies, whether you're internal or trying to sell stuff in, based on customer service. It has never been a better time to be a customer service manager in the industry, because if a pump manufacturer can come and say, I've got this pump, it pumps water and sewage 50% more efficiently and 50% more reliably than it did last year, there's a return on investment model that says that reduces unwanted contacts, an increased SIM score, which potentially for the water companies could mean multi-million-pound incentives, or if they get it wrong, disincentives from the regulator. So it's a good time to be doing this stuff. So what I started to focus on is why customer service is such a challenge and why it's difficult. In order to explain why I think it's difficult within the water industry, I'll refer back to page 1, chapter 1 of any customer service book that you care to buy. What makes a satisfied customer is 5 things. It's about choice, it's about value, it's about the quality of product or service, it's about service or after-sales service, and there's something called going the extra mile as well. If you think about last time you bought a car or anything big or exciting, subconsciously you went through all of those categories in your head. And when you get that stuff right, you get something called a very satisfied customer. I've no idea who that cool dude is. He's the first person I found on Google Images when I Googled very satisfied customer. But those 2 words are really important. Link back to that SIM score and that question, that one question out of 60 that Ofwat actually measure the water companies on, and yes, I did say 60 questions, and that probably feels like about 3 hours for the customers that are on the end of that survey. It's no good anymore for customers, when asked by Ofwat, for them just to say, yeah, it's fine, the service that I got from Gurney or Anglian Water, Severn Trent, South West Water, whoever, it was fine. If water companies are going to progress through that SIM table, they have to have 100% of their customers saying, I was very satisfied with the service that I received. And that's a real challenge for us, because certainly in the world that we live in, when we turn up, customers aren't generally very satisfied with us turning up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a JCB digging outside their daughter's window because it's noisy, it's messy, it stops them getting to work, they can't park where they normally work. And bear in mind, those things about choice and value as the first two things that make a satisfied customer. Those two things have been removed. Tony will have a different view north of the border. But in England and Wales, customers don't have a choice of water provider, and Ofwat and the Consumer Council for Water will tell you that customers do not perceive that they get value for money from their water providers. So already we've got a bit of a challenge. The good news is, and this is work that or a slide that I've pinched from Harvard Business School, so I hope there's no one from Harvard in the audience to sue me, but the great study that they've done proves that after a service failing, if it's recovered well, there is increased customer loyalty and increased customer satisfaction. So the great opportunity for us as Gurney representing our clients in the water industry is that where customers have been adversely affected, we've got a great opportunity to improve their experience and improve their view of the world. So some of the things that we've done, and this is generic stuff that I'm going to fly through, is just to focus on the basics in terms of customer service. So have a continuous improvement program. So on day one, we train all of our staff and any subcontract staff in customer service, so that sets their expectations very clearly. Monitor and analyse customer service elements within your business, so that might be contacts, it might be complaints. For us, it's actually out in the field analysis of looking at the jobs that we do and appreciating how well we believe that we're performing them. I always list coaching and feedback separately because I think coaching is something that's soft and is helpful. Feedback is a slightly more formal process for us, and sure, there have been times when we've sat individuals down and said, I know you think your job's digging holes, but actually you're either unwilling or unable to do this extra stuff that we need for you to provide the quality of service to our clients that they expect from us. And you need to have a good hard think about whether this is the right career for you anymore. So that sounds very threatening. We're not that sort of organisation, but sometimes you do have to make hard decisions to make real progress. We back that up with something called MAD, which is just making a difference. It's a behavioural change focused on customer service. It's a really cheesy title, I know, but if you stop a guy in a Gurney van and say, can you tell me what MAD is, they will be able to tell you, and that's quite an achievement, I think. A big piece of work that we've done over the past 18 months is come up with a customer service charter to set the beliefs, values and behaviours that we wanted in our organisation. And we've rolled that out to all of our staff, including supply chain, and sadly they're not all as good looking as they are. They're actually the prettiest ones that we could find, by the way. And they actually, as you can see them there, signed up to that. So it's a personal commitment from our members of staff. Fantastic, I thought. I then had a mild panic about, well, that's great, but how do I know that we're living and breathing those values day in, day out, on all the jobs that we do as an organisation? So we very simply came up with a customer service audit that happens at random, on site, in the same way that all companies would go out to site to make sure that we're compliant with health and safety and regulation. We do that from a customer service perspective to make sure that we are satisfied with the level of service that our staff are providing. That's been really interesting. This is some real data from one of our contracts, and what you can see is that we get worried by anything that isn't green because they should be doing all of the stuff that's in that charter all of the time. It's not optional. And you see a guy at the bottom, Barry Coleman, who started life a bit negatively towards customers, but with some really strong coaching, has actually really improved over a period of time. And that's a really powerful message, I think. Tony will actually talk about this in his presentation, I know, and we started to talk about it. All this customer service stuff is great, but if you don't actually succeed in your on-the-ground performance and delivery, you won't get satisfied customers anyway. So I'm really proud to say at Gurney in the water contracts that we have, we've got contracts where we are hitting 100% of our service levels, so 100% of our KPIs and SLAs for responses to jobs and quality. That's the fundamental thing you have to do, is provide a quality service to the end users on behalf of your client. We've spent a great deal of time building customer service into operations, and I think It's a myth that customer service is a department or a specialism with boys and girls in a call centre. It isn't. The service that customers pay for is that when they turn a tap on, water comes out of it, or when they flush the loo, it goes away again. And it's blokes out there in high-vis jackets and vans with spanners and spades that do that, not customer service people as was perceived. So, yeah, reviewing processes, making sure that all of your business processes are customer-centric. Are they customer-centric, or do they just suit you and your system because the IT guys can't make it do it in a different way? Is a common challenge that I've thrown out. Focusing on customer-sensitive work types, it's an obvious thing to say, but if I have one criticism of UK water companies, it's the way that they collect data from their customers and the way that they store data about their calls from customers. So, oh yes, they will say, 35% of our calls this month were about no water. Another one. That's what the subject matter of those calls, but what was the trigger for those calls? Was it that nobody called them back when they said they did, or somebody kicked their cat on site? Slight extreme example, but the point is, unless you do that real hard manual analysis, you won't understand really why your customers are calling you, and therefore where the key areas of focus in your business should be. The biggest win for us has definitely been proactive customer communication, so let the end users know when we've received their job, what's happening with it, if anything changes, closing out that call to make sure that we think we've finished the job, but do they think that we've finished the job? So I'll focus very quickly on future for the water industry. There has to be, from this point forward, a real balance of efficiency with quality. So at the start, I've been knocking around the industry for 15 years. I still hear a lot of focus about reducing cost, improving efficiency. That's fine, but you also have to invest. And we have to invest in people and processes to make sure that customer service continues to increase in the way that regulators and customers expect it to. There also has to be, from an operational perspective, investment in infrastructure. It's a pretty obvious point to me, but there needs to be more planned preventative maintenance to avoid service failings in the first place so that customers don't need to pick up the phone and tell you that their toilet isn't flushing or they haven't got any water. I mentioned this already at the start, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but seriously, whatever organisation you're in, there is a great opportunity with real tangible business benefits to pitch to either your client or if you work for a water company directly, your senior management teams about doing things better. There's a real case for return on investment there. If you get it right, you get nice people writing in things about very, very nice men in vans, and that's great. We actually have started to really use these examples and celebrate the successes and manage people by putting positives rather than just beat them up every time we get a complaint, because it's a much more positive way of doing it. That's all lovely. I think what really floats my boat is stuff like this. So this is some statistics from one of our mains rehab programs. Massive piece of work in a very affluent area, including some towns and cities, some rural stuff. What that top table basically says, over the course of a year, through either turning water off because we had to, or closing roads, restricting parking, working noisy and late at night, we affected 32,000 individual homes or businesses with the work that we did. Of those 32,000 plus customers, we only received 15 complaints, and we actually received 11 letters of compliment, which is almost unheard of. So I think I just threw that in there as a kind of tangible measure for if you put real focus on what has traditionally been a very operational activity, the customer statistics kind of back themselves up really, and it's those kind of quotes from our clients at the bottom that I get out of bed for, really. So in terms of a very quick summary before I hand over to Tony, because we're all into zero waste, I'm going to unashamedly recycle a summary that I used for a water and waste water treatment magazine last August. And that the point of that article that I was asked to write was that, is there a magic bullet for achieving SIM? And no, there isn't, but just to repeat the three key things, you have to ensure that your business processes are focused on the needs of the customers and not your business. You've got to empower your workforce to take ownership of the customer and get them to make appropriate decisions on the customer's behalf. And we've got to continue as an industry to invest robustly and manage assets and infrastructure to remove service failings in the first place. We're going to have a question and answer session at the end of this, but I'll hand over to Tony from Business Stream, who's going to talk about a slightly different slant, I think, on how something that's lacking in England and Wales is competition, and therefore customers' choice, which is something I mentioned at the start of my presentation, and I think Tony's going to explain how that can actually open up a whole different range of conversations.